my Alice Fireside Chats, right? Now, this is my second video on being an autism mum, all right, or a child that is not neurotypical. If you're a mum managing a child with special needs. Now, if you're waiting for a diagnosis, but your child's showing these behaviours and traits that you're struggling with seem to ring true and a lightning bolt goes off in your head when you read up on it, you're probably right. And it applies anyway, and all they're going to do is help you educate yourself on how to manage sticking plasters. That's it. That's all there really is on offer. There's no, apart from the fact that you will get financial help, because you will be working twice, 4, 6, 10 times as hard as you would do if your child was neurotypical in this society. Yeah. First thing to do, right? First, most impactful changes I made. I went on a course run by the National Autistic Society. There's one for under fives and there's one for under eights. And me and my mum went on both of them because we were like we would have just asked him for any information to help, right? We didn't know what we were doing wrong at all. You know, I brought up 3 children. I didn't have any of these problems. Right, is a massive difference. If you've never had children before, you might not even realise how hard you're working right now, right? But the first most impactful changes I made were remove toys, distractions out of the bedroom. If you can find another area of the house to put their toys, so that or cover them over, hide them inside cupboards, clear space, nothing on the walls, just stop overstimulated. And you need to reset so their bedroom is a calm, they'll love it much more with no clutter, just chill space, just a bed, a few comfy things and not a lot else, right? I mean, the TV helps, obviously. If you've got a child with special needs, it resets and calms them. The screen has a sedative effect, and it's the only way it helps. It helps to shut down all that sensory overload, especially when they're having a lot of changes from A to B in one day. You want to reduce them down to absolute minimal. Do not move them around and constantly engaging them unless you have to. Their most comfortable place is where they don't have to be included. They don't have to engage. They don't have to stop something they're loving and they're enjoying, and they don't understand. It's the change from each activity. It's going from the house to the car, to the school, to the shops, to the bank. Neurotypical children, they just get in the car. Like my child, no restraint anytime you had to get him in the car. So it was like, do I need to leave the house really? You start to minimalise the amount of A to B's. You'll notice, you'll start to clock when they're at their worst, and when you've done a lot of charging around, taking them to noisy, busy, claustrophobic places, you need to read up, see the world through their eyes, and anticipate what will cause high anxiety, because it builds through the day and they get worse. And you'll notice that when they're at school, there's been a lot of demand on them to listen, pay attention, be spoken to. They don't get to just talk about Lego all day when you're at school, and it's exhausting. Most children just put up with this, but with neurotypical children, they're not going to. You see, it's a completely different environment. But I made the house autism friendly. Not having things around that are no, because remember, they are fixated on what you say. So if you end on no, they're going to he'd have tantrums for a couple of hours. You end on yes after tea. Yes, you can do that when we get in the car. When you get your shoes on, yes. It's the same answer. The language you use, minimalise. Less words, less forced engagement. Every time they engage, be there, jump on it. And the rest of the time, don't force them. Stop trying to put them in our world and get them to be neurotypical. If only you could stop running away. If only you could just do and remember what you're doing. That might be difficult for them. So there's all sorts of things you can do. Cue cards, get them to make their own order of what they like to do, order in, get them to choose, give them the control. They choose the steps, and now what do? You wash your hands, you clean your teeth, you put the, I got my son to draw them and laminate them, around the house, so he knew what he was doing. Because visually, you won't need to look at it, he'll know what he's doing in that order. And don't worry about time scales. Take that out as much as you can of the restrictions, because then you can be flexible. And what they can't do in mainstream that you can do is, he's not up for it today. I can see he's bouncing off the walls. We're not going out. All plans have got to change. It's all down to keeping them at their best, because the less upset they get, the less meltdowns they have. And then the less meltdowns they have, the less anxious they are. And it snowballs in reverse. When you take all pressure off and start again, I had to rethink how I parent completely differently. Less words. It's like the opposite to how I knew parenting. Children, they chatter away all day, don't they? Yeah, with autism, it's like we're impacting on their little bubble. Every time we speak, make them stop, make them start something else, do this, do that, ring the school bell, start another lesson. Oh, we got a different teacher now. It's all changes. So minimalise change, minimalise their environment so everything's yes. All the no things, keep them out of sight. They'll forget them. That's the beauty. Put it behind a cupboard door, they'll calm down really quickly. If they can see it still, they're not going to be able to stop fixating on it. And they're going to cry until, that's what they want, because they can see it and they can't understand. Like, you gave it to me yesterday. Oh, yeah, but it's Friday. We don't do that. I don't feel like it today. I'm changing the rules. You can't do that with autism. These are the things that are causing anxiety. So it's worth minimalising, right? A to B. Transitions is when you'll notice is that they're at their most bouncy. Overstimulated places, noisy roads, getting on a train. How many of those in a day or a week do you really need to do? So basically, I know it sounds harsh, but I stayed home with him and just kept him in the best place possible. And then I would get a day off. My mum would have him for a day on a Wednesday, and I would cram my life into that Wednesday on my own. I'm not dragging him around shops, overstimulating him, and putting him through a lot of upset. It's a lot for them to manage the world when they shouldn't have to. And normally, your whole life, it changes your life. You're not going to just be able to get in the car and go anymore, but it's autistic friendly, And if I wanted to go somewhere, using photographs, giving him a visual image of where he's going, drawing a visual diary on a bit of paper, little stick man, this is what you're doing today. Be careful what you put on there. The only thing you can guarantee is that we're going to wake up, you're going to have breakfast, you're going to do whatever you want and play in the morning, and then we're going to have lunch, And I don't put times on there. It's just a general. It could be any time. It's when you finish lunch. That's when we go. Don't give them anything you can't fulfill, because that's the other thing of being rigid. Thinking it's like, you lied to me. It's like, no, the plans have changed. You're going to get away with it. And it's not obvious, but you need to understand how they think in order to work out how to keep them at their best. And you'll find out you're probably doing a lot of it already naturally. Yeah, that's video 2 of my autism mum series. Big up you anyway, by the way. I know, right? I know how much you're putting in. And you probably don't even. So yeah, that's why I'm doing these videos. Alright.